morning and welcome to the Interreg Europe's webinar on Interreg Europe in 2021 and 27. This online briefing is organized in partnership with the European Committee of the Regions. And indeed, it's a very special event because it's first time that where we gather Interreg Europe program representatives, and they will be talking widely for the public. It's first time about the future features of the program. My name is Irma. I am Communication Unit Coordinator of the Interreg Europe program, and together with me, there are several colleagues who will be presenting various topics during this webinar. But before we will check the agenda, I will present you several practical details about the tool we are using today. The tool we're using today is Zoom meetings. Probably many of you are already familiar with it, but if you are not familiar, you can see that on the bottom and on the right hand side you have a menu bar where you can find a chat, and also using the chat function you can see the hand. So in case you would have questions, we would ask you to raise your hand. In case you have questions, you can also type those questions in the chat. We will be also organizing several polls during this briefing, so then you will be able to vote for the favorite answer to the question you will see on the screen. It's important to mention that this online briefing is recorded. We will share the video and presentations after the event on our website, and you will receive an email informing that those presentations and video is published. It will take a little bit of time for us to do this. I would say more than a few days, and because next week we have one important big event, but we will talk about it later. Great. We see that many participants joined us today, so it would be, I guess, a good moment to present you the agenda and our speakers. This briefing will last 1 hour, and we have our program director, Erwin Siweris, who will talk about interregional cooperation and why it matters. Good morning, Erwin.
Good morning, all.
We have also Nicolas, our colleague from the project and platforms unit, who is head of the unit, and he will be presenting the main features of the new program. Good morning, Nico.
Good morning, everybody.
We have our colleague Magda, Anagnostou, a coordinator for the policy learning platform, and Magda will present you the main features of the new Interreg Europe policy learning platform. Good morning,
Hello,
Magda.
everyone. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, we have also Josephine and Petra, who are managing the chat and the tool. So if you have any questions, we are ready to answer them via the chat, or you can raise your hand so that we give you a floor to ask your question live. There will be several times during this I would say informal webinar when we are taking your questions. We will be answering your questions live. Before we dive into our agenda, I would like to launch the first poll and to ask you, how are you familiar with the Interreg Europe program? Great. You can see here 3 answers. That you are familiar with the program somehow and not really. And we can see many people now voting for one of those answers. The ones who already did can also write us in the chat from which region and organization you're coming from. Like this, indeed, for the others, it would be nice to see from what organizations participants are using the chat function. It's possible to send a question, by the way, to us, the organizers, and also if you want to address or send a message to a particular person, you can choose the name in the chat box and do that. Great. We can see that most of you already voted. 83% participated in our first poll, and we can see that 33% say that they know the Interreg Europe program, 48% say that they are familiar, and 20% say that they don't really know what is Interreg Europe program is. I think the agenda we designed today will help us and for all indeed of you to learn what is the Interreg Europe program about. We will also learn the details about the program and its features for the future. We will see one project video. As I mentioned before, we will get a little bit of insights about the policy learning platform and the new services we will order. And you will also learn what is coming next from our side and what you should not miss. Great. I think we are ready now to start with the first presentation. And I would like to give a floor to our program director, Erwin Siweris, to tell us why really interregional cooperation matters, to reflect a little bit what are the results of the current program and what indeed we can expect from the future program of which will be running from this year till 2027. Erwin, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Irma. And again, warm welcome to everybody from my side. Irma mentioned already this is an important event to the group of the Committee of the Region, and we do it together with the Committee of the Region. And again, a big thanks to the Committee of the Region, to the organizers. So we would like to use the opportunity to present the program a little bit, but focusing also, and that's what my colleagues doing afterwards, on the future, on the new features of the program. We are there, the programming process is over. We are about to select signatures of the partner states. So we will soon have a new program, and you should be prepared for the new program, know what the new program offers, and that's all the session about. My part is, as Irma said, I will give you a little bit insight in the background, what Interreg Europe is about. And then, as I said, my colleagues will give you the further details. So as I saw, about half of the participants is not totally familiar with Interreg, interregional cooperation, Interreg Europe. We thought maybe we give a slide showing you the background in where Interreg Europe is located. You see, Interreg is a big family, and here you see the budget of the previous programming period, the EU programming period. There is a general budget decided, but the figures are not yet final. That's the reason why we're working with the previous figures, which are fixed. You see that there is Interreg A, which is dealing with cross-border problems. So two regions on the border of European countries forming an Interreg cross-border program, because they have to solve cross-border problems, border problems, social security, people crossing for work, the borders. These are issues which are the points where Interreg cross-border programs are dealing with. And you see almost 100 cross-border programs are all over Europe are installed to deal with the cross-border problems. And you see also that the biggest amount of the funds provided for Interreg family is going to the cross-border programs. Then you have the transnational programs, 15 transnational programs. Here, certain countries form transnational programs. For example, around the Baltic Sea, there's the Baltic Sea transnational program. We have the Northwest Europe transnational program, also located in Lille, with the same managing authority as our program, which is covering the area from Ireland to the mid of France, the Benelux, and the western part of Germany. Because they have a common area, they have common problems. It's one of the most developed areas in Europe. Then we have Mediterranean areas, such to give you an example. Then we come to the interregional cooperation strand, the third part of the family, and you see here 4 programs who are under interregional cooperation. You see, first of all, Interact. Interact is coordinating all 107 Interreg programs to ensure that is learning between each other. what one Interreg program is doing, how they manage program management calls, financial management, is shared with the other programs to learn from each other. In a way, the idea what Interreg Europe is doing is done by Interact, focused on the Interreg programs. Then you see also Urbeck. Urbeck is dealing with cities and city solutions, and then the Aspen program, which provides research for the regions, for their needs. And then you see Interreg Europe. We have all 4 programs share a budget of around 500 million euro, very small, but we believe still efficient. So let's go into detail. What is Interreg Europe about? First of all, we covering all Europe, all EU, plus Norway and Switzerland. This is for the EU program. The previous programming period, of course, all EU was including also the UK. What is also important to mention, the program as a geographical coverage is all over Europe. The regions are using the program. 90% of all regions in Europe are represented in one or the other project of the program. So the program Interreg Europe is a family of the European regions, which allows them to work together to change experience, to improve their policies. It's already covered here in the next slide. And what I often say is, for every problem a region has in Europe, there's for sure or very likely another region in Europe which has already the solution which works, which solves the problems. And that is the core purpose of the program, that we allow the regions to share these solutions, to learn from each other, and to make then smart decisions afterwards. That's also the reason why we are dealing with mainly public authorities. We focus on policy improvement, so it's important to have the policymakers in, and that's the reason why we focus mainly on public authorities. Another unique feature of the program is that we, besides the projects tool we have also a new tool which was implemented in the last programming period, the policy learning platform. The policy learning platform allows a permanent sharing of experience among the European regions. Magda will later on give you further details on the policy learning platform, but this is a unique initiative of the program, which also will stay in the future program. Summarizing a little bit what we are doing, the main point is we allow European regions to work together to improve regional development policies. Another requirement what we have for all our project is that more and less advanced regions have to work together. It's a requirement that there's a mix in the project, that both families of regions are always in one project. And this is kind of the heart of the European cohesion policy, to allow the less advanced regions to catch up with the knowledge of the more advanced regions. We also saw that the peripheral regions around Europe, they are very keen to use the program, and they're very busy and very much engaged in our program to access the knowledge of the center of Europe. So the program in a way is, you can say, in the core of the European cohesion policy. Another point I would like to mention is the importance of the stakeholders. All projects have to have a stakeholder group. The stakeholders, there are the practitioners on the ground. If you work on economic development, you always should make sure that you have the enterprises somehow on board in the project. enterprises, private business are not allowed to be direct beneficiaries of the projects because we, as I said, we focus on policy improvements, but we cannot do this without the enterprises, the small and middle-sized enterprises, chambers of commerce, etc. And these are important members of the stakeholder groups, and this is another requirement we have. So taking all this into account, we think we can say that we are an accelerator for regional development. We allow to get the knowledge to the regions before they make the smart investments, and this helps, this saves times, and this helps to improve the regional development. Focus on results, also an important part, and I would like to show you a few results. We had 4 calls. We have almost 260 projects all over Europe, I mentioned already. We have all countries of the previous program area involved, 30 countries with the UK included. And what I mentioned already, we have almost 90% or 90% of all regions in Europe are participating in the program. Another result is, this is for showing that we are well using the European taxpayers' money. You see here the figures of 225 million euros spent so far in our projects. We are monitoring the project's result. We have almost 180 of the 260 projects which are almost closed. So we have here the results, we gathered them, and we have reported 680 policy changes, policy improvements. 400 of them are working in structural funds programs. And what is important to say, the policy changes result in investment, in smart investment. And here you see the figures that more than 1.3 billion euro have been invested based on the knowledge the region gathered. So the regions do exactly what we want to do them. They learn how to do better, and then they invest. And if you then compare the two figures, we have a leverage effect of almost 6, meaning €1 invested in Interreg Europe program results in about 6 euros of smart investment in the European regions. For the future of the program, my colleagues Nico and Magda will go into details. We will continue with the project and the policy learning platform with the main 2 pillars of the program. The projects will slightly be changed, but in principle they remain, the structure remains, a few details will be adjusted. For the policy learning platform, we will keep the same services of the policy learning platform. And here the partner states even decided to have a little bit more money budget provided for the future program to the policy learning platform. And I think that's already my part, Irma. I'm ready to answer questions now or later. I will stay with you till the end of this session, and I'm looking forward to see from the Competitive Region members also a good number of projects which we will ask you to submit more or less soon, depending on the approval process. But I will close here and ready to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erwin, for this introduction, and also presenting that the future program, as the current program, will have the 2 pillars, the policy learning platform, and the program will also finance the projects. As the next presentation is really about the focus on the projects, could you tell us what is the estimate? Do you have any estimation on how many projects you will be able to finance in 2021, 2027?
Yeah, we estimated about 200 projects should be financed in the future program. But of course, there's an estimation, well, it's not looking in the crystal ball, but we know also from the previous programming periods, we had estimation, and then we had an overrun, a substantial overrun of the figures, and this may also be in the future the case. But for the moment, we count 200 projects, and we will see how is the demand.
Thank you, Erwin. We had few more questions in the chat, but I see that our colleague Nicolas already answered to them. One is related to the percentage of the managing authorities, and the clarification is already there that this percentage refers to managing authorities of investment of growth and job programs, not only the Interreg MAs. And now there's another question about the European grouping of territorial cooperation. We will pick it up, I think, with Nico, because his presentation will answer to more questions and will detail indeed who can be joining and participating in the future Interreg program. So thank you a lot, Erwin. And we give a floor to Nico, who is challenged indeed today to summarize the program in 10 things everyone should know about the future program. So Nico, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Irma. Good morning again from my side to all. I'm very happy to see so many participants today. And indeed, it is a challenge to summarize the next programming period in 10 points. What I'd like to do with these 10 points, so to guide you a bit, is that I will first start with the things that do not really change compared to the current program. Then I will go to the elements that become more flexible in a way for the beneficiaries. And thirdly, I will mention a few more conditions. Unfortunately, there will still be some requirements for the project to fulfill. And I will end up in two key elements on the finance aspect. We should not forget this. This is very important, of course. And as you understand already from this short introduction, I will mainly take the position of projects. My colleague Magda will give you more information later on the policy learning platform. And before I start, I need an element of warning because, as Erwin said, we are still in the finalization of the programming process. We didn't have yet the approval of the Commission, and we have also our monitoring committee that needs to validate at the end all the different elements. But let's say that the key elements I will present you today are 98% sure in a way in the future, but there's always this uncertainty because we need, of course, to have the final validation of our stakeholders before launching the program. So let me start with some elements that Erwin has anyway mentioned already. And these elements are those that do not really change compared to the current program. So we will keep a similar objective, which is very ambitious, which is to improve the regional development policies. And the regulation also still mentioned for us a particular focus on investments for jobs and growth program, meaning the operational programs that are implemented in the member states and the regions. We are there also to help them to find new projects, new ways of implementing their programs. But let's say that in terms of overall objective, there's really no change compared to the current period. In terms of eligible areas, this is the same. We remain the only Interreg program covering the whole EU. So all 27 member states are now eligible. And we have also two associated countries, Norway and Switzerland, where there are also funding available for partners based in these two countries. So this is also a very attractive feature of the program and very easy, I think, to understand. It makes us also quite different from other ETC programs. I also would like to explain you that how should we achieve this objective. And it's what Erwin has already mentioned. We remain a capacity building program. We are part of the Strength C, as Erwin has mentioned. And these programs are in a way light programs. They do not finance investments. They are not research programs. So the means to achieve this very ambitious objective remains also the same. There's no real change. We are a project dedicated to identifying, analyzing, and transferring good practices among the EU regions. And the two consequences that were already mentioned on Erwin's slide remains and are very important for you to keep in mind. That first, this program is particularly addressed to organizations that are responsible for regional development policy, so most of the time public authorities, but also bodies governed by public law. And we are there also to finance learning, to support mainly exchange of experiences, which also sometimes include, I will come back to that, the possibility of testing, trying things in the regions. And these two elements makes, especially the focus on the policies, on the policy level, makes us very different in a way from cross-border and transnational cooperation. If I go now to the elements that are a bit new and that are open some flexibility, even some more flexibility on the beneficiary side. So they are rather good news, we think, from the applicants and beneficiary point of view. The first one, and perhaps that's the most important one for you to know, is that we will no longer work on the 4 priorities that have been mentioned in his slides. The member states have decided that we would focus on one single cross-cutting priority on capacity building. And what does it mean, this new focus of the program? It means that almost any topic relevant for regional development will be possible in the future program. So we will be able to finance projects on social innovation, on employment, on risk prevention, which was not totally possible in the current program. But the partner states still say that it's nice to open the possibility of cooperation, but we would like still to highlight areas of priority. And that's the reason why there's a concentration principle that remains in this program, that 80% of the funds should ideally be spent on a priority field, which are mainly related to what we call in the jargon of the cohesion policy, the policy objectives 1 and 2, the smart and green, smarter and greener Europe, and partly also as a consequence, mainly I think of the COVID-19 crisis, on some of the specific objective of the social Europe. So you see this arrow where the 80% funding should be spent ideally. But again, the good news is that the program will be more open in terms of topic in the future. There is also, as you saw from the mission at the beginning, this idea that Interreg Europe help the managing authority of mainstream programs, investment for jobs and growth, to find inspiration, to find solutions to their difficulties in their implementation. And here again, the regulation is a bit lighter in terms of wording. So the member states wanted to open up the restriction and to be a bit more flexible. And that's the reason why, sorry, it becomes very specific for those who don't know the program. But you know, in any project, the project needs to explain the policy instruments you would like to improve through the cooperation. In the current programming period, there was a strong focus on structural funds. So half of the policy instruments had to be the operational program, the investment for jobs and growth. In the future, it will be only 1 per project that needs to be an investment for jobs and growth program. In other words, it will be much more open for the project to focus on any kind of relevant policies in the regions. It can even be at the local, at the city level, municipal level, district level, county level, and sometimes also at national level when it's relevant for regional development. Another flexibility that is introduced is in relation to a wording in the regulation, meaning which means that refers to innovative initiative, innovative approach. And discussing with the member states and with our current beneficiaries, we open more possibility for pilot actions, which is something that the regions would like to test for the first time to see if it works or not, with, of course, the aim to improve the policy at the end. And we open up these possibilities because these pilot actions will be now possible from the start, which was not the case in the current program. So we think this is also a good news for the project partners. I will go now to the things that, to the last flexibility. Sorry, I wanted also to highlight this. It's important. We are very particular in this regard, is that the projects are implementation in 2 phases. The most important is, of course, the core phase. It's 3 years of the project where you really focus on this exchange of experience, on identifying the practices. But we keep on working with the project during 1 year to see the effect of all this policy improvement on the ground, and to make sure we push a bit the regions to implement the lessons learned from the cooperation in the regions. But we were very strict with the separation. We were even predefining the activities of the follow-up phase in the current program. This is now completely open. The learning can continue in the follow-up phase, even the pilot actions. And this has also another consequence, is that the action plan was a kind of obligatory deliverable for the project at the moment. It will no longer be the case in the future. An action plan will be required only when the region didn't succeed in achieving any policy improvement by the end of the core phase. So the idea is really that you have 3 years to achieve the project objective. And this happens very often. If you cannot, for different reasons, then you will produce a very light action plan to explain what you commit yourself to do in the last year of the project to still try to improve the situation in your region. That's also a kind of additional flexibility we introduce for the future. Now I come, what I say earlier, I come to certain conditions for this flexibility, because we cannot manage thousands of applications in the future. This has happened in the past. We really need to improve, to ensure the quality of the application that are submitted to the program. And the first very important requirement that may be introduced in the future is to be even stronger with the improvement of what we called in our jargon the policy responsible authorities, meaning the organizations that are responsible for the policy that the project would like to improve. In the future, it will be necessary to have, for the policy instruments that the project address, at least half of them will have to be represented by the policy responsible authorities. So let's take an example, a project that is working on improving public transport in the city, for instance. There are 7 different strategies in relation to public transport into the project. If 6 regions are there, at least 3 or 4, or minimum of 3, will have to be represented by the city itself, which is, at the end of the day, the organization in charge of this policy. So this is a very important rule in the future. And when this is not possible, because in certain cases, the policy responsible authority cannot be involved as a partner, still, this authority would need to commit itself to the project by becoming an associated policy authority, which is a kind, let's say, of golden stakeholder, a stakeholder that commit to be involved as much as it can in the different project activities, but do not sign any budget, do not commit financially to the project. So this is perhaps the most important new requirement for the next program. The member states have also are interested also in having a geographical coverage, a minimum geographical coverage beyond the minimum imposed by the regulation, of course, because we were facing in the past a lot of applications that were coming from transnational areas. So it's very likely that in this new program, we will impose a minimum geographical coverage all over Europe. We divide Europe in 4 areas, and we will ask the partnership to cover a minimum of these areas, 3 or 4 of these areas, to ensure that we have really the broad geographical coverage that is requested in Interreg Europe. I come now with to the last part, which is the financial aspect. They are very important also, of course, for you to know. And I will start with the co-financing rates. There's no big changes, again, compared to the current program. There's a higher co-financing rate for the core target group of the program, which is the public authorities or the body governed by public law. They will benefit from 80% co-financing rate. And the private non-profit organization, it may be sometimes chambers of commerce in certain countries, or cluster organizations, or NGOs, this kind of organization that can be important in the policymaking process, would be supported up to 70% of co-financing. There is then special rules for Norwegian and Swiss funding that will be developed later on in the program documents. So this is quite still incentive rates, I think, for the regions to be involved. And our colleagues from the finance, they also work on a series of simplification for the budget to make your life easier, making it also our life easier. But we will keep a lump sum for the preparation cost. So if you approve, it will be an automatic amount, around 17,000 euros, if I remember well, that will be automatically granted to the project. And we will have an automatic calculation of the office administration cost and travel cost in relation to the staff cost. Because we realize for Office of an Administration, it's already the case in our program, but we will extend this to the travel cost, which should make your life much easier because you won't have to justify a lot of documentations behind the travel and accommodation. Finally, there's also a simplification for the staff cost, which is the main cost in a way in our program, because we have proposed a fixed percentage and no more timesheets, because this has created a lot of difficulties sometimes in audit. So this should again be a welcome simplification, I think, on the beneficiary side. The idea in the future is to really have less control for the projects and also simplify the reporting so the payments can also be accelerated to the beneficiaries. This is what I wanted to say with these 10 key elements. I hope it's clear. I will finish with the timing because, of course, this is important to you. Erwin has already mentioned that the program is more or less approved at this stage. We are waiting for the partner states agreement now, and we hope to submit the program at the beginning of, let's say the end of this year or beginning of next year, most likely. And we will have then perhaps an approval in spring. But this should not prevent us, and that's perhaps the most important information for you to know. This does not prevent us from launching a call, hopefully in the spring of 2022, so in the first semester of next year. So it's coming now very quickly. All information will, of course, be published on the website. Thank you very much. I hope it was clear, and of course, I'm happy to answer any possible question. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Nico, for presenting us the main 10 things we need to know about the future Interreg program. We can see that in the chat we have several questions. Before we take the questions from the chat, we will launch the poll and we will check what are the most what are the topics people are interested most from the new topics our program will be addressing. I can see that the answers are coming in already. Yes, about 30 people voted about it, and once we have, I think, the results, we will be able then to answer also the questions of the chat. Great. We can see that yes, almost everyone answered the poll, so we can then display the results, and we can see that yes, and we can see that indeed the most topic which is of interest of everyone, it's green. The second most popular topic is smart. Then the other topic is social. We have 29%, 34% for governance, then citizens, and seems the last topic which is interested for everyone, it's connected. Do those results surprise you, Nico?
I have to say I'm very happy to see the green so strong, because with the Green Deal, it's certainly a high priority of the program. I'm surprised by two small things. The success of governance, because I didn't mention it, but it's also completely new in our program, and it's encouraging to see that this may raise interest. And also the citizen subject is also quite interesting, because this is also completely new for us, and so for me it's interesting and sometimes surprising. Yes.
Thank you, Nico. Okay, then let's have a look what questions we have in the chat. We have few questions about the budget indeed. One is of them, will it be possible to shift the budget from phase 2 to phase 1 to phase 2 in the future program?
Yes, it's a very interesting question, because that's what I wanted to pass by saying that it's much more flexible now, this notion of phase 1 and phase 2. We rename them core phase and follow-up phase, and there is still an objective that the core phase has a meaning. It should be by then that you achieve the project objective. But in terms of finance and activities, it's much more flexible. So you will indeed have the possibility to spend the budget in the last year if you haven't completely spent it in the 3 first years. The most important for us is that the project do not face very severe underspending, because there would still be then negotiation to see if money can go back to the program in case of very severe underspending by a project.
Mm-hmm. Any major changes are planned for the management verification process of the projects?
So this is really something only my colleagues from the finance could answer, I'm afraid. The only things I know is that we are trying to make the rules easier. So the flat rate I was mentioning earlier makes also the verification process much easier, especially for what we used to call the first level control, because they won't have to check anymore the travel, for instance, documentation. It will be automatically calculated. Also, the simplification on the staff cost will make the life of the controllers much easier in the future.
Nico, in your presentation, you talked about the minimum geographical coverage, and Maria is asking, are there any more details or any specifics you could provide indeed to us at this stage?
Yes, I cannot show you exactly, but the idea is that we divide Europe in 4 areas with a certain number of countries: north, east, south, and west. And we will ask the projects to have a partner at least from 3 of this area, or even 4 of this area, to ensure really the project go beyond their traditional transnational cooperation area and exchange of experience with very different horizons, different partners they are not used to work with. This was anyway already present in the 4th call of Interreg Europe. So if you're interested, you can simply download the terms of reference of the 4th call. You will see this the way these 4 areas are described.
Nico, Angela is asking, she sees that today during this webinar, indeed a lot of cities join us. And are there any new differences in expectations of projects coming from cities in Urbact and Interreg Europe in the new programming period?
There is similarities between the 2 programs. Let's be very clear. We are about improving the public intervention mainly, and we are on capacity building. The thing is that Urbact is focusing exclusively on integrated strategy for urban development, and is attaching a very, very important emphasis on the local process. Interreg Europe is different. There's no obligation to focus necessarily on integrated urban strategy. And for us also, what is at the heart is not necessarily the local process, it's the interregional process. So you really need to demonstrate how you pick up the solutions or find inspiration elsewhere to then integrate it in your regions. So this makes the 2 programs fundamentally different, I think, in their approach and in the nature of the projects we are supporting also.
Nico, we have few more questions in the chat. We will not be able to answer all of them live, but we will answer them in written form. I'm taking now the last question. Indeed, it's a clarification about the 80% of the concentration. Could you explain a little bit what, yes. I mean, how you will be, how we will be checking it on the program level?
Yes, so the 80% is really a strategic decision by the partner state to say we should, okay, we open up the scope of the program in terms of topics, but still we think that there are a certain number of questions, and they are quite numerous, you will see, there are a certain number of questions that are priority and of very high importance for regional development and for EU regions. That's the reason why the member states decided that 80% of the budget should mainly be spent, to be quick, on innovation, environment, and a few social related elements. This is indicative, so let's see how the program will evolve. But to answer the question, it's not a compulsory requirement, it's a guidance for the program to spend its budget on specific issues. And I'll answer perhaps to the first question. I just wanted to say that EGTC are fully eligible to Interreg Europe also, and depending on the kind of project, they are of course welcome.
Thank you, Nico, for this. We will, as mentioned, we will answer the other questions in written, and now we will advance with our agenda. And before the presentation about the policy learning platform services, we will see one project video to see how really this interregional cooperation works in practice. And that's the video of IR project. It's about boosting innovative entrepreneurial ecosystems in regions for young interpreters.
Europe's economic growth and jobs depend on its ability to support the growth of enterprises. To keep the wheels spinning, we need new entrepreneurs, fresh ideas, and an ecosystem that boosts the entrepreneurial spirit. Are we doing enough? Is there something EU regions and governments should learn from the startup world known for its agile decision-making models? And how could the public sector develop the ability to come up with new groundbreaking ideas?
Together with our good friends across Europe, we decided to find out this is IER in a nutshell.
10 very different regions, one goal: to build better ecosystems for young entrepreneurs. The EU-funded IEER was kicked off in 2016 and led to a completely new policy planning framework. Thanks, startups. 11 interregional and 104 local events putting together higher educational institutions, companies, incubators, and the public actors across 10 European countries. The result? With a budget of 2.3 million euros and a better framework to channel investments to the right place, we were able to gather new investments worth 40 million euros to promote entrepreneurial spirits for young people and support startups. The return of investment was a whopping 1,500%. With European collaboration, huge results are possible. Young people are Europe's future. Entrepreneurial mindset, problem solving, and interpersonal skills are the competences that decide our future. On September 25th through 27th, 2018, 30 professors, teachers, and policymakers from 9 regions were brought to Valencia to kickstart the learning and pilot of the Aula Emprende.
I have formed a team for development of entrepreneurial activities with students from different areas that allow them to improve their skills in entrepreneurship and social innovation. So, essential, therefore, is combining entrepreneurship and training, which turns into motivation.
In a fast-paced world, it is crucial that legislation and public policies keep up. After all, the goal is to support entrepreneurship rather than make things harder. In addition to the public sector, many startups and their personnel were involved in IEER.
So entrepreneurs need to have a seat at the table with regional governments when they are making decisions that could have a huge impact on the success of that company. In regards to policy planning, this shows the entrepreneur that the region is actually serious about the entrepreneur developing jobs within that region.
The past 4 years have surely been a ride. We established that collaboration and sharing of best practices is key to boosting entrepreneurship across Europe.
Even though we have done well in the past, we understood we didn't know everything. Collaborating with different European regions and learning from startups was eye-opening. The IER Interreg gave us tools to bring public policies closer to the young people and to serve their needs. It really proved that by working together, we get better results.
To learn more, please visit interregeurope.eu/IEER.
Great. I think after this inspiring video, many of our webinar participants are now motivated to apply for the project, and they will start preparing applications, we hope. But that's not all how you can benefit from the future Interreg Europe program. The second pillar of the program covers the policy learning platform, and I would like to give a floor to my colleague Magda, who will explain what will be the services of the policy learning platform in the period of 2021-2027. Magda.
Thank you very much, Irma. A warm welcome also from my side. Indeed, I cannot talk actually about the future of the policy learning platform without giving you an insight on its present. So as Erwin said, maybe I can advance a little bit. Yes, as Erwin said, the policy learning platform is the second pillar of our program, and it is a very innovative tool. We have launched it in 2016, it's a new tool, and the idea behind it is to create a space for continuous learning completely dedicated to regional policymakers. I think the idea is really simple. With having almost 260 projects implemented, we realize that we are sitting in a treasure of knowledge, and we would like to take stock of this knowledge and make it available to all regions in Europe that are interested. We also like to create ad hoc opportunities for cooperation for those regions that they didn't have the resources or the opportunity to participate in one of the interregional cooperation projects. So we hope that with the policy learning platform, we help you in your everyday work to deliver better policies by finding inspirations on what other regions are doing. And we are implementing this tool through two elements. On one side, we have an online portal, we have a website, and maybe most importantly, a very competent team of experts. You see on your screen our current team. For each thematic objective, we have one, two, or three experts working. They have long experience, 25 years of experience in the policy fields, and they are the ones accompanying the regions in the learning journey. Looking a little bit what the policy learning platform has to offer for you, for the regions. On one hand is access to knowledge. We have a knowledge hub. We have also access to people, a large community of practitioners around Europe, and we have access to expertise, what we call expert policy support services. I will come a little bit more into detail to explain what is it about. Diving in a little bit on the knowledge hub, you will be able to find more than 2,500 good practices that are tested in the regions. They have been well evidenced on our database, and they have been validated by our experts. You will also be able to find a lot of publications, for example, policy briefs that they depict the most interesting results of the projects, and they have their policy making successful stories. You will also find thematic newsletters and quite a rich agenda of different events, and all the recordings of our thematic webinars and policy learning platform are available. Maybe to come from the theory to practice, I have put this slide on because I know that we are going to circulate our presentations afterwards. So I picked some good practices, some very concrete examples from good practices also that influenced policies in other regions. And also on the right side, you will see our upcoming events. We are having a trilogy on e-mobility and e-workshop on clusters driving the transition, online interactive events. We also have the Commission talking about the latest policy developments on these areas. So I would really invite you after our meeting today to have a look and start your policy learning journey in the activities of the policy learning platform. I said also that we give access to people. We have quite an impressive large community, 23,000 people, members, practitioners from the regions are registered in our platform. To give you an idea, more than 2,000 are managing authorities of structural funds. So I would really invite you to go online and see, you will find a calendar of all the upcoming events and networking opportunities with the community members. But maybe my focus would be on the most elaborated services, what we call the personalized expert policy advice and support. Local, regional, national authorities, regional development agencies, just like you, they have policy challenges and they come to us and they ask for help and inspiration. And our thematic experts will get back to you either through a written detailed feedback, personalized and tailored to your specific need through the policy help desk, but also with two more elaborated services, the matchmaking or the peer reviews. With the matchmaking is an online or on-site visit. For 2 hours, we will focus on the policy challenge of the specific region. We will gather and team up with 2 or 3 selected peers, and through interactive discussions, we will try to shape hands-on tailored recommendations for the issues that the region is facing. And even the golden service, let's say, it's really the peer reviews where there are 2 working days. We will select 4 to 5 peers from the community. We will also involve local stakeholders, and through the discussions, through these 2 working days, we will come up again with very tailor-made hands-on recommendations that can help the regions to solve their policy challenges. Just I put the map on the slide to show you that we have launched this service in 2018, and already we have implemented almost 30 peer reviews and 15 matchmakings all around Europe, in all corners of Europe. And if there is maybe one message I would like to pass for the peer reviews is that for those of you that you are not very experienced with cooperation, this is really a fantastic tool that can initiate you in this wonderful world of cooperation and start working with other regions. So the story so far is quite successful. You can see from the figures that we gather on the slide that we have been very active. We are up and running the 4 last years. And the figures show that there is a lot of activity and a lot of learning and knowledge to share with you. We have quite an encouraging feedback. You can see even on the expert support services, we have 100% of the beneficiaries of the users that have said that they are satisfied and they found this useful for the region and they found solutions. And I can tell you even regions from France, from Bulgaria, from Germany now, from Spain, they're coming back to us with the 2nd and the 3rd request for a peer review. So this is quite reassuring that what we are doing is really useful. And building on this success, we would like to continue in the next programming period, the services that we have in the policy learning platform, answer the needs of the regions, develop them further according to your needs. So we will continue to offer you access to knowledge, access to people, and access to expertise. And all this is for free. So I hope that I created a little bit of an appetite for you to discover the work of the policy learning platform, to join our world, and maybe most importantly, to integrate the cooperation and the continuous learning in your everyday work. So for these words, I'll give back the floor to you, Irma. And of course, I would like to answer any questions you may have on the policy learning platform.
Thank you, Magda, very much for this presentation. I don't see any questions for you in the chat, but I will use this opportunity to ask one question by myself to you. Indeed, it's evident that you assessed the current services in order to know which services should be also put on the agenda for the future program. Could you share the insight? What was the most successful services regions appreciated most from the list you have on the policy learning platform desk?
Yes, indeed. I think it's quite a relevant question, as the whole idea of the policy learning platform is to answer the need. So we started quite with some proposals on different services. We proposed different things, publications, but also ad hoc advice and opportunities for cooperation. And indeed, very often, continuously, we assess how the beneficiaries perceive our services and if they find it useful. So indeed, I think what the people appreciate more is these ad hoc opportunities for cooperation, and indeed is this personalized, tailored expert support and advice that accompany the regions in their challenges. And I think also it is quite important to say that it's quite easy to access. You have a very simple online format to fill in that can answer through the help desk or to organize a matchmaking or a peer review. So people appreciate very much this. And I think we can now say with the experience that we gained that the most successful and most demanded service is the peer reviews. And as we have now quite an experience on this and expertise, we'll definitely build on the lessons learned and develop this further for you, for the regions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Magda. I think now everyone who joined this meeting knows how they can benefit from interregional cooperation through the project or through the policy learning platform. And indeed, before we close our meeting, there are a few more, two more important points to tell you. One is about our upcoming event, and the second one, we wanted to ask you also to give us the feedback feedback about this current webinar. So first about our upcoming event. In this hour, we covered only the most things about the future program. The next week, on the 24th and 25th of November, we are running the event, which is called Europe Let's Cooperate, which will be fully online. And during 2 days, we are presenting the program achievements from 2014-2020 with the 4 thematic workshops. And the next day, on the 25th, we are talking in details about the future program 2021-2027. We will be talking in details about the features of the new program, and also for the ones who are really interested in the project development, there will be opportunities to network and to network with other people, to see what ideas already others have, and to join the discussions. So really, if you are interested in projects development, I would say this is the event you should be joining next week, if you are eager also to get more information about the Interreg Europe program. And as we know that during this webinar, there are many representatives from the regions that are based in Brussels, we would like to ask you not to hesitate and to pass this information to relevant people about this event. After our webinar, you will receive an email with the detail and link how to register to join. We have already a big number of people who joined. It's I think about 1,800 people are joining the event. So it's really a good opportunity to, I would say, to network with the others if you are looking for project partners. So we hope that our cooperation with you will continue in this event or the other activities of the Interreg Europe program. And to finish our briefing today, you can see now that we launched a feedback poll. So we would be very, very glad that you can tell us how useful you found our briefing about the future. It will help us to reflect on this activity and also to propose you other activities in the future. Some of you know that indeed it's not the first briefing we are organizing. 2 months ago, we organized the first briefing within partnership with the European Committee of the Regions, and it was on the policy learning platform and the services. So in the follow-up email from us, you will receive a link to this briefing as well, so you can check then in details about the policy learning platform. And hopefully in the future, we will continue our partnership with the European Committee of the Regions. And it's planned also that once we will be able, we will organize some events in Brussels for you to present, to talk even a bit more in details about our program, the topics we cover, and to share all the insights and to help you, our European regions, to find the solutions for better regional policies. Great. I think now it's time then to thank you to all our speakers of today, to our director Erwin, to Nico, to Magda, also to Petra and Josephine, who were managing the back scenes of this briefing, also to all our participants and all your questions. It was very nice to see that you are active and you are interacting with us. This is very important for us to feel because we don't see your faces in front of us, and at least we can see that you are typing the questions and we can answer. So thank you for this active participation, and also thank you very much to the European Committee of the Regions, who indeed showed us initiative and gave us an opportunity to organize this briefing in cooperation. So thanks to everyone. Have a good day, and we keep you posted about our upcoming activities. Bye bye.